And Sharia law cannot abide by it.
Yep.
Sharia law cannot live side by side. It does not see all men that are created equal. It does not practice and protect the right to leave that faith or even criticize that faith. It does not grant equal dignity to every daughter and every son under the law. And where Sharia law advances as a parallel system, our hard-fought rights retreat. And history has shown it time and time again.
So a little less than a week ago, there was a massive rally in London, the UK Unite the Kingdom rally that was put together by Tommy Robinson and a whole bunch of his allies. And anywhere from 60,000 is the lowest estimate in the mainstream media to hundreds of thousands of people attended there. It was a beautiful rally, apparently. I know a fair number of people who were there. And Jonathan Conricus, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, he's a reserve lieutenant colonel or retired. And he used to be, after a distinguished combat career, he then became a spokesman for the IDF. Many of you have probably seen him before. And he's currently with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. He traveled to England at the time and attended the rally and then went on Piers Morgan, where Piers attacked him for his attendance at that rally. And in that interview, Jonathan said something very sharp and very important that I want to drill down on. So I want to play you this clip. It's a little less than 4 minutes long of Jonathan, and then I'm going to give you my comments, and I have a bit more to say about the rally after that. So let's take a look. Jonathan Conricus at on the rally in London on Piers Morgan. Here we go.
I was happy to be among the crowd of the Unite the Kingdom march. I found it very enjoyable.
Did you feel you were amongst like-minded souls there, Jonathan?
I felt that I was amongst patriots. I mean, they are, yeah. I saw a lot of British patriots. I saw a lot of people who were marching with their own flags and being proud and happy to live in a free, democratic society.
When you saw one of the speakers do this, Kelly Jean King, let's look at this.
It's not too late to get Islam out of that building. It is not too late to get Islam out of every single official office in this country.
You feel comfortable now you've seen that? That's one of the speakers at the event.
Well, she didn't say Muslims, did she? She said specifically said Islam. And I think there's a very big difference here. Had she said Muslims, as in people with beliefs, I would have had
What
an
if she
issue.
said Jews or people who practice Judaism?
Well, she didn't say Jews, or she didn't say people.
You're splitting hairs, Jonathan.
No,
You know you are.
No, I'm not. And I think that's a
So
vital
she said
point.
we've got to get Judaism out of every form of parliament,
Well, I don't
at
know
local
that
or
there
state
is-
level, national level in the country.
I don't know that there is any Jewish authority in British politics. I don't know that Jews exercise.
Well, there's no
that
Islam
level of
authority
power.
in British
I
politics.
don't,
Here's the thing.
we have religious
I just
freedom.
think somebody's standing on a stage where you're in the crowd
Yeah,
and are proud to be there, happy to be there, no problem. Okay.
yeah.
But there's a woman standing there who is just being blatantly Islamophobic in the most blatant, obvious, undeniable, uncontestable manner.
I think you're wrong, Piers. And I think that, I think you have to be a little bit more critical in the way that you're, happy to, with very broad strokes, paint something. And this is something that not only you do, lots of people do it, where anything where the root, the first letters of Islam is mentioned, there's this heightened sensitivity.
That's just
oh
nonsense.
Lord, please
That's
not say
serious.
As
anything
opposed to
against Islam.
Judaism and
let's
Jews
not say anything.
and Israel.
Well, you can see that they are the most targeted ethnic group in the
Jonathan,
UK by far. We
quite-
can see that the hate crimes against Jews are beyond everything else. They are 10 times the amount of attacks against Muslims. So
That's complete
by that comparison, no,
Statistically,
that's
complete and
British
utter-
police.
That's a lie.
No,
That's just
that's
a lie.
British police
No,
statistics.
I mean, you're a professional liar. You're lying now.
By that number, you could make that assumption. But I think you're doing the same mistake here. That woman, who again, I don't know who she is, and I don't know where she comes from, but when she chose to say Islam, the religion, and not Muslims, I think that's it.
What do you think she
that's
meant
a
then?
difference.
To keep Islam out of our body politic?
Well, I think she makes a point of having, keeping Britain British in the sense of that church is separated from power, something that you did about 900 years ago, and that you have religious freedom.
Why are you defending this, Jonathan? I don't understand.
Jonathan, can
Why
I just
am I
say...
defending it?
Yes.
Because I believe, as someone who lives in the Middle East, and unlike perhaps you and others here, who don't yet understand the problems with institutional Islam, I think that you have yet, you don't really understand what's at stake here.
Can I
if you let
Islamists,
yeah, of course. If you let Islamists take over institutions, that is exactly what they will do, and they will use your system.
But she didn't say
you.
Islamist. She said Islam.
So first of all, I think, Jonathan, it's an extremely strange ship for you to want to go down with this. You could have easily just said, I condemn that, but generally I didn't find that.
I thought you would.
I thought you would, actually, because I think you do a good impression of a reasonable person.
Because we all know if it had been at the other...
with the condescending nonsense.
But Jonathan, if it had been at the other one and she said, I want Judaism removed from all political levels of the country, you'd have gone nuts. Rightly. I'd have agreed.
Okay. I think there's something really big that Jonathan was pointing to here. Islam is, as a religion, and I've said this many, many times, Islam as a religion believes in taking control of the entire world, in governance. That is the goal of Islam. The goal of Christianity is for everyone to accept Jesus. Okay, and that's a generalization. I know in the comments last time I said that, someone said, well, it's also the goal for people to live a certain way. Fine. But basically, it's about faith. Okay? The goal of Judaism is for the entire world, like the universal goal, is for the entire world to know the God of Israel. Okay? That's the end game of Judaism. For the entire world to know the God of Israel, not to become Jews, but to know the God of Israel, not to govern anyone except ourselves. The goal of Islam is the submission of the entire world to Islam, which means submission. The governance of the entire world, meaning you either become a Muslim or you live as an official dhimmi, second-class citizen in the world. And so this actually, quite literally, not as an insult or as an epithet, quite literally, there is a political goal of Islam. And the Islamic texts all say it, down to modern texts, down to the Muslim Brotherhood texts, this is the goal of Islam. So the answer that Jonathan gave, like, I don't think there's any Jewish, political power in the British government. It wasn't even precise enough. You could have gone further. There's no Judaism Judaism has zero agenda about affecting the laws of other countries, there's no Judaism agenda, that religion has no agenda politically in other countries. And so there's no getting Judaism out. It's not about Jews. And that distinction he makes between Muslims and Islam. She said to get Islam out of the UK government, because Islam has a political goal. And when Charlie Kirk famously tweeted, and it was retweeted millions and millions of times, one line, Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. That's what Charlie was talking about. I talked to Charlie about that tweet. That's what Charlie was talking about. He was talking about the fact that Islam does not believe, as Jonathan correctly said here, separation of church and state and a division of power between them, which you have in the Bible itself. The king and the high priest and the prophet are different roles, and the king has to submit to the divine law and to the law and gets rebuked by the prophet. Right? There's this division of authority, which leads to the whole separation of powers, which engenders human liberty and freedoms. That's what he's talking about. Islam as a political ideology. Again, this is not an insult. Islam does not believe in those constructs. It doesn't believe in those constructs that I just said. The freedom of the individual, freedom, that type of autonomy of the individual. They don't believe in that. So the basic rights that Western civilization are built on are not consistent with Islam's agenda. That's the point that he was making here. And therefore, and he even said, you who live in the West, you don't get it. You think of Islam just as a religion. You're not understanding that once they take hold of it, the goal of Islam is to take over these institutions. That's what he said there. That's not the goal of Judaism. It's not the goal of Christianity. There are Christian people who will end up leading institutions, but it isn't the goal of the faith community. In Islam, that's the theology. That's the idea behind the whole thing. And therefore, you getting it out of, if you allow it into the government, it will replace what you have, if what you have is built on the Magna Carta, on Western freedoms, etc. This is the point he was making. And I mentioned Charlie Kirk before. One of the most beautiful aspects of this rally, and I think very important to keep our eye on, is that there's really a global movement building now. There were a lot of Americans who went to the UK to attend this rally. There was a lot of cooperation. They did a tribute for Charlie Kirk at this rally because he also stood for these values. And we're also seeing now that there's going to be a mass rally in, next week on the 26th of May at Gracie Mansion in New York, pushing back on the Mamdani administration for its positions, which is also an Islamic encroachment on Western government. There's going to be a massive coalition of groups, Hindus, Jews, moderate Muslims. There's a massive coalition of groups, Christians, who are all getting together for this big rally in New York. And then you have what happened in Texas over the last few months, where they were pushing back on Sharia law, trying to put put on the ballot that Sharia law should be made illegal because it's a legal system that seeks to replace the American legal system. And what we're seeing here is a coalescing of activists and of groups worldwide who are waking up and heeding the warnings and starting to pay attention and saying, we need to push back on Islam's agenda because, as Jonathan said there, they will take advantage of the freedoms that our societies afford them and use them against us to take over our societies. And we need to start rising up and pushing back. And that's why this UK rally was much bigger than this one event in London. Now, I mentioned the American involvement here. One of the people who flew over to that event to take part in it was none other than Glenn Beck. And he gave a 6-minute speech there. And I'm going to end this video by playing Glenn Beck at the UK rally for you. So just a big takeaway. Make sure to, if you're in the New York area, Gracie Mansion, May 26th. I'll share more information on that in subsequent videos as we lead up to that date. That's a big event there taking place. And you can go to, not sure exactly what the website is. I think it's the End Jew Hatred. If you look up End Jew Hatred or Brooke Goldstein there, she's really one of the organizers behind it. You can look her up, but I'll share information in subsequent videos about that. But we're seeing a global awakening to this problem. And I also love the fact that Jonathan Conrico's pushed back on that kind of like that virtue signaling. Oh, aren't you ashamed of this? No, I'm not ashamed of this. We have to push back. And Islamophobia, the concept of it, phobia means a fear. It's not a fear. It's an awareness. It's a disagreement with their agenda. Calling it a phobia makes it seem like it's an emotional condition or some kind of neurosis. Anyway, let's end this off with Glenn Beck from that same rally. Here we go, Glenn Beck. Let me pull him up here.
I bring you greetings from the United States of America. It is such an honor to be with you today. It is really an amazing thing to see you all stand up, and I come here to stand with you shoulder to shoulder because of people like Tommy and people like you that have shown the courage to speak and stand when so few will. Thank you. You have truly paid a price for refusing to ignore what is obviously happening all around us.
Just before we go on, I want to make note of the flags you see here. You see these are Iranian pre-revolutionary flags. That's what these flags are here. And that's also an awareness that it's all worldwide. It's all one battle. It is the battle between Judeo-Christian Western civilization and what we stand for, and Islam. And the Persian people who want to be freed from the regime want to be part of our civilization. All right, let's go on.
You refuse to not see what's happening to our streets and to our daughters and to our women in the streets. And it means something as an American to see you stand. And I just want you to know there are millions of Americans all across the other side of the world that see you, hear you, and are praying for you and are standing with you today. I want to make it clear why I am. Thank you. I will tell you that I am here today, like you, not to stand against anything and hate, not to stand for hatred, but to stand for the most revolutionary idea in human history, that all men are created equal. And not because of a king or parliament says it, but because we are all endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Those rights cannot be taken from us by government or religion. No ideology can take them away. They are life and liberty and the right to speak your mind and to speak truth. The right to worship or not worship according to your conscience. Equal justice under the law. These words come
Notice the Israeli flag here also.
from our American Declaration of Independence, but they were born here on this soil. They were born here in England, the meadows of Runnymede with a Magna Carta. They were born in the English common law that says even the king is not above the law. In the covenant faith of the Scottish people, the stubborn independence of the freeborn Englishmen who said they will never bow to a tyrant. These are the principles that built the freest, most prosperous civilization the world has ever known. And Sharia law cannot abide by it.
Yep.
Sharia law cannot live side by side. It does not see all men that are created equal. It does not practice and protect the right to leave that faith or even criticize that faith. It does not grant equal dignity to every daughter and every son under the law. And where Sharia law advances as a parallel system, our hard-fought rights retreat. And history has shown it time and time again. Our shared failure on both sides of the Atlantic is that we forgot where our rights come from. We have treated liberty as something automatic, something in the air that we breathe, instead of the sacred inheritance that needs to be taught and defended and lived by each and every generation. But that forgetting has opened the door. But the good news is, the uniting hope is that it's not too late to remember. We can, beginning now, teach our children again that those God-given rights, those truths are what makes us free. We can demand that every person that comes to our shore or the shores of any country in Western civilization, or those who are already here, that they must live under the same equal law that protects every citizen. One law, one standard of living, one standard for every man and every woman. And if we can do that, then we'll restore what made the West worth restoring and defending. Great Britain and the United States, we are not separate stories. We are not. We are branches of the same tree, the tree that is rooted in equality before God and the law. If we stand together on that foundation, not in anger, but in clarity and the courage that you are showing today just for standing here, then our children will inherit not decline, but they will again inherit a brighter future. A civilization where every person can come here and walk these streets in safety, speak freely, and pursue happiness without fear. That is our fight. That is our inheritance. That is what will unite all of us and renew the West. I am so happy to see all of your flags all in front. We have been told that we should be ashamed. We are not ashamed of our heritage. We have learned from our mistakes. We are proud that our shared heritage changed the world, healed the world, and fed the world. And as our President Lincoln once said, with malice toward none and charity toward all. Let us remember truly who we are. Raise your flags and raise your voices. As our President George Washington said at the beginning of our nation, let us raise a standard that the wise and the honest can repair. The event is in the hand of God. As the scriptures tell us, as for me and my house, we know who we serve. And as our current president, Donald Trump, might say, Make England great again. God bless you. May God help us save our shared republics and civilization. God bless you. Thank you for standing.
There you have it, folks. It's all one battle. It's all one fight, nationwide, worldwide, all over the world. What Israel's doing in the Middle East, what's happening in Africa between Christians and Muslims, what's happening in Europe, what you see there, what's happening in the United States, both in New York and in Texas and everywhere else. We are in the big confrontation. And we need to get in the fight. We need to pray. And we need to stick together, and we need to communicate across all countries. And we need to make it clear that we understand that this is all one fight. That's what I'm trying to do here with you. And let's stay engaged. Let's stay connected. And let's, again, keep praying. God bless.